Welcome to this week's Q&A. We've had a really good question this week from one of our viewers in Australia actually, from Sydney, and he's asked, look, with Brisbane winning the 2032 Olympic bid, which areas do you believe are going to show the greatest growth opportunities? Will it be the outer suburbs of Brisbane or perhaps areas such as the Sunshine Coast? And then he said there are some good arguments for both, in as far as we've now had the advent of work from home, but there's also a lot of build for the Olympic infrastructure that's required when the Games actually arrive. Great question, good answer, but let's also not overlook the obvious. So the 2032 Olympic Games in Brisbane, the opening and closing ceremonies will be held at the Gabba, the iconic stadium housed in Gabba, and very close to the current major infrastructure project there, which is the cross-city rail tunnel and station which is being built in Wollongabba. So I think if we look at outer suburbs, perhaps we should also look at inner suburbs as a fairly obvious choice. So Wollongabba, East Brisbane, Norman Park, all those areas around there that are already benefiting from this great infrastructure spend that's going ahead, and this cross-city rail project's over $5.6 billion. It's part of the Queensland government's $56 billion infrastructure guarantee plan that it has in place now. And many of these projects were started long before Brisbane won the Olympic Games a couple of weeks ago. So let's look at that. We have population growth there, which is really rebounding. Somewhat might say because of COVID, or as well as the driving force bringing people perhaps from Melbourne and Sydney to live in Queensland, which is not only a location you can take your family, educate your children, but you can get a bigger bang for your buck also from a housing viewpoint. So I think the inner suburbs also very important to look at. And if we look at the Games and what they've said, they're going to host 28 different sports. 21 of those venues will be in Brisbane, 7 on the Gold Coast and 4 on the Sunshine Coast. So the Sunshine Coast is a separate topic, and it's already been driven by a massive build-up of infrastructure. There's been strong population growth there and employment growth, and it's something that we told our clients about 4 to 5 years ago. So that's enjoying that boost along. This will add to it, but I think what we've got to look at there, again, an increase in infrastructure spend in terms of the Bruce Highway going north, the M1 motorway going south. Let's look at where perhaps the athletes are going to be housed. There'll be an athletes village built at Hamilton, which is on the Brisbane River. There'll be another one built on the Gold Coast, another one on the Sunshine Coast and Coralbin. So the whole region, I think, will continue to expand out of this, but it's probably perhaps a little too early to get too caught up in which suburbs will do better. I think if we look at what's already going to do better through existing infrastructure projects, where people are moving to, amenity, the whole thing comes together. And that's where I think some of those suburbs that I mentioned around the Gabba and around Hamilton, the Sunshine Coast, due to its own expansion of, the biggest medical precinct in Australia, many things that are driving some of these regions, and the Gold Coast, which is continuing to see rapid growth both in people moving there, so population growth, employment growth, and certainly there the work from home scenario is something that many people look to achieve for themselves, because lifestyle is so important now, especially when Australia is currently facing the lockdowns that other parts of the world have seen over the last year to year and a half. So really important. Great question, as I said. I'm Andrew Unterweger from Wise Guru, and I'll see you next week at our Q&A. So please keep sending in all those good questions to us. All the very best.